The next service which I want to discuss is AWS EC2. EC2 full form, does anyone know? Full
Elastic
form of
Cloud
EC2. Elastic Cloud
Compute.
Compute. Okay. Elastic. Elastic in the sense?
Expansion, right?
So you
We can
can yeah,
Scalable,
yeah,
right?
scalable.
Scalable is all about you can increase the resource, you can decrease the resources. Okay. You can expand the servers, means you can increase more number of servers, you can reduce the servers. All this called as elastic. Okay. So always AWS uses a terminology elastic in their concepts. Okay. Elastic cloud compute. Okay. You know what is meant by compute? Technically servers. Okay. But here what we do is there are two things here. I'll keep it so simple, not to get confused. Either we can create a physical service or we can create a virtual machines. It's possible. You might ask a question, what is meant by physical server in the sense we need to have direct access, right? No. Through cloud also we can access it. I'll tell you what is that. Okay. One is physical machines, I call it as, or virtual machines. I can manage both of them in AWS cloud by using a service called EC2. Simple thing to understand. So if someone asks you what is EC2, see, these are like basics no one will ask nowadays because the interview patterns, everything has been changed. Okay. For our knowledge purpose to understand, EC2 is all about managing the computes on AWS cloud data center. Okay. Either physical machines or virtual machines. The first and foremost thing which everybody has to know is I have to decide on which location I have to spin up this physical machine or virtual machine. Location. Technically, we know that we select regions. Under the regions, we have availability zones. We already know that concept. Last time we have discussed about it. Region is a logical grouping of availability zones. Under the regions, we have availability zones. Minimum we'll have 3. You take any region as an example, minimum we'll have 3. That is for sure. For example, here I will take AP South 1, Mumbai. That's a naming convention of region. Now for every availability zone, the prefix of that particular name will be a region name, means AP South 1. Then you will see alphabetical order, A, like that. For example, this is one availability zone. It is too less. I'll go for 16. And this is second availability zone, AP South 1B. Okay. That is second availability zone. Now third one, AP South -1C. Third availability zone. Okay. So when you are trying to spin up this EC2 instance, technically we call it as instance in a terminology. Okay. Instances. Okay. Now, when you are trying to manage, see, all these are technical terms. You people should not get confused when people are talking in interview about some particular technical terms. See, they cannot come to your level, right? They will talk in a particular technical terms. Okay. So EC2 is a service name, but technically we call it as instances. The resource what you are trying to manage under EC2 is called as instances. What does it mean? Let me show you practically. I'll go to EC2 dashboard. You can see virtual servers in the cloud. Just select that. Now we are able to see the EC2 dashboard. Now in this particular dashboard, you can see there are many resources like EC2, instance type. Under the instances, we have this images, elastic block storage, network and security, load balancing, and then auto scaling. These are the 6 different sources under this particular EC2. Now I'm talking about instances. Okay. Under that, if you want to create some virtual servers, then you have to go to instances. From here, we can launch it. Okay. But remember, when you are trying to launch some EC2 instance, first you have to select in which region you want to spin up this. For example, in my scenario, in my account, by default, the account is Virginia region. If you want to switch to Mumbai, just you have to select that. It will load the dashboard of Mumbai. It will be the same configurations. Dashboard will never get changed. The UI part will never get changed. It will be the same across all the regions. The only thing is in which data centers you want to launch. That will be decided based on the region that you have selected here. Then you might ask me a question saying that why you have not talked about this one in IAM. IAM doesn't have any region. It is a global. It is a global service. In AWS, we have something called global services and regional services. Global and regional services. What does it mean? Some services doesn't need to specify a region where you want to spin up that. But there are some particular services which needs to be specified as a region. Best example, IAM is a global service. EC2 is a regional service. Okay. Yeah. How I will identify that? If I go back to IAM and look at the dashboard, once it is loaded, you can see it's global. Okay. This is a way to understand. Now, let me go back to EC2. If you want to add this particular IAM as a favorite list, you can click this particular star mark. It's like a favorite list. What is meant by favorite list? If I go to the console homepage, here we can see the recent visited. Okay, and this favorites as well here. Okay. Now you can see managed instances. You can just go here. That is not necessary. I think some people have asked a question related to AWS health. AWS health is all about the global health. It means this particular AWS account, if it is having some issues with any other region, they will populate that particular things here itself so that you will get to know. It is not about your AWS health. It's all about everybody, that particular data center or a region service. If there is any outage, they'll let you know here. I think if I select here, your account health, you can see no recent issues, but schedule changes. They have done some particular schedule changes in the Elastic Container Service, ECS, planned lifecycle event. When they have done that, what is that event effectivity? Oh, sorry, it is upcoming, June 30. So you can plan your particular resources. You can take some backup, or if you want to take some particular, if you want to intimate your clients and all, you can be intimate before saying that AWS is planning some particular maintenance on this particular service. You might see some particular outage. Okay, so this is like a prior notice from AWS to you, and you can intimate your end users. Okay, so that's all about it. What they are planning to do on this particular thing. Everything they have written, each and every point. What is the change? Important considerations. Okay, you can read the documentations as well. Now, for the question asked, this is the answer actually. Let me go back to EC2. Now, the major purpose here is nothing but, for example, if I need to launch instance, first of all, we need to have a physical machine. Without having that, we can't create a virtual machines. That everybody knows. So you need to have a physical machine. That physical machine will have some hardware. Okay, you already know about that hardware. For example, disk, RAM, okay, and then network. Means NIC card. All this is called as network. And then can CPU, memory, that is RAM, which I have already written. Okay, some physical resources. right? Now, on top of this, today I will explain about what is hypervisor. So you have to understand about, earlier we used to use physical machines long back before virtualization came into picture. The topic is uh, virtualization. For that, we have a tool called hypervisor, a software we can call it as hypervisor. Earlier, what we used to do before we have the virtualization concept, we used to have a physical machine. On the physical machine, we have to install operating system, and then we used to install some particular servers, and then we run our application, which I shown you long back in the diagram. Example, maybe in the demo. Okay. But what are the challenges we have that particular physical machine is? Uh, the resource, it is a single tenant model. Single tenant in the sense what? You can run only one particular application, specific application of the user on this particular physical machine. Can you run another database server on the same physical machine? Yes, we can run. But the problem is if the servers goes down, both will get affected. Your application and your server as well, database server. Okay. So you need to segregate them. What does it mean? I need to have another physical machine. Then I need to run database in one server, application in one server. Because of this, what will happen? Maintenance and cost. Right? Maintenance in the sense what? As an administrator, now I need to manage another server as well, additionally, for this application to get deployed. Okay, I have to manage operating system, firewall, security, all of the things will be there, right? I have to manage all these things on that server additionally. And you're increasing the cost as well to the client to whom you are supporting right now. Okay. So to avoid, see, I told you one simple example. And in the physical server, we have advantages. You can run only your specific application of the client on this machine, and entire resources are dedicated to your application. We have a lot of advantages, but the major challenge is cost and maintenance. When you have multiple applications that you want to test it out, whenever you don't want it, you want to remove them. But here in the physical machines, once you purchased, you cannot remove them, right? You have to use it until for the life cycle. Okay, maybe you purchased from someone through a data center or whatever it is. You have to use it until the billing cycle was done, though it is not useful for you. Okay, so we have certain to overcome these kind of challenges. Virtualization came into picture. What does it mean? On a single physical machine, we can run multiple machines. Those are called as virtual machines. Now, what is the advantage of that? You no need to purchase another physical server. On a single physical server itself, I can create another virtual machine and I can install operating system. I can install some web server or any other thing and I can run my application. And I can install database server on the same physical machine and I can run my database over there. Though they are isolated with each other on a two different missions, but they're running on a single physical machine. There is a risk part in that. But the advantage is you can reduce the cost and you can reduce the maintenance as well. And it becomes easy to manage in the disaster recovery. Because on the physical mission, disaster recovery is too complex. Okay. Physically, you have to take some backups and all. But whereas in virtual mission, you can take backups through our tools or through software. And again, we can restore it. It doesn't take much time to restore the virtual machine. But there is a risk. What is that risk? If your entire physical server is down, you cannot access your virtual machines. Everything will get collapsed. Though we have that particular risk part, but still we are using physical machines because we have a proper tools to manage them. That is nothing but hypervisor. So in order to create a virtual machines on top of this physical machine, we use hypervisor. This technology is called as virtualization. Any doubts in this? Any questions? So if someone asks you what is virtualization, you have to give a definition saying that in my perspective, I have created one definition. So uh, it's a piece of software which runs on top of physical machine to manage virtual machines. That's it. So what is hypervisor? It's a piece of software which is running on top of physical machine to manage virtual machines. It is as simple as it. If someone asks you, okay, if you come across that particular situation, this is the definition that is easy to remember. See, hypervisor is a piece of software. Okay, you have to install it in order to create this particular virtual machine on top of physical machine. So what does it mean? Now, instead of installing operating system, we will install hypervisor. We will install hypervisor. And remember, there are two types of hypervisors. Again, one is type 1 and one is type 2. I'll tell you. Type 1 hypervisor and type 2. We can also call this particular type 1 as hardware hypervisor. Hardware hypervisor. And this one is called as type 2. Software hypervisor.
So you mean to say like it's a EXI server? That's what you're referring to? Hardware?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. VMware ESXi. Okay, this is the best example for type 1 hypervisor. What is the basic difference between type 1 and type 2? Let me talk about type 2. If you want to use this particular type 2 hypervisor, first of all, we need to have an operating system installed on the physical machine. Without having operating system, you cannot install that hypervisor. That is called as software hypervisor. The best example is nothing but your VM virtual box, Oracle virtual box, VMware workstation. I told you, right? So what these kind of tools are? Can you install Oracle virtual box without having operating system on your system? No, right? First of all, you need to have an operating system. It could be Mac, it could be Linux, or it could be Windows. First, you have to install it. After that, only you can install this particular Oracle virtual box, or else you cannot manage the virtual machines by using this application. That is called as type 2 hypervisor. Okay. But in the data centers, we don't use type 2 hypervisor. It is only for our simplification to practice or to do some particular task in our local systems. For our personal use, we call it as. We rely on software hypervisor. Because why I'm doing like that, I don't want to disturb my personal usage operating system, but I want to practice my required operating system for my technical knowledge. Okay. One is for my personal use and one is for my technical growth. How I can manage them? By using this software hypervisor. That is my personal use. Now, next, what is a type 1 hypervisor? Hardware hypervisor. What does it mean? You will run this hypervisor directly on the physical machine. It acts like an operating system. It acts like an operating system, but it is not. Okay. So this hypervisor will be installed. Once this hypervisor got installed, then you will create a virtual machines on top of this. And you will install your operating system. Hope your question is answered.
Yeah, got it.
So the type 2 is the one which we use, right? The Oracle.
Yeah, the one what we
answer.
use right now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what is this? Do you have example for the hypervisor one?
Yeah, I'll come to that.
Okay, thank you.
I have not discussed about the examples. I discussed example only for software hypervisor. So hardware hypervisor, let me complete this. I'll give an example. Now, let us say this is VM. Now we should not call this one as physical machine. It is created by a software. Anything that is managed by a software is called as virtual meetings, okay, virtual video conference, okay, all this is called as virtual, right? Okay, by using some software, we are able to talk, we are able to see, we are able to listen. Okay, now this is one virtual machine, this is another virtual machine, and this is another virtual machine. Now I can install operating system whatever I want here. Here I can install Windows here, I can install Mac here, I can install Linux over there. For example, I'm saying we don't do that still. Requirement based on. Okay, individual, because they are isolated. Though they're running on the same machine, but this machine cannot talk to this machine until you provide an access. Okay, all these virtual machines are isolated and they have their own operating system. What about hardware? Some amount of portion of this particular hardware will be allocated to the virtual machine. That's the reason why this is called as hardware isolation. Okay, I'll talk about that when I talk about containers as well. This particular point which I've told you. Okay, now coming back to the point, what are the best examples for hypervisor type 1? So we have VMware ESXi, VMware. Okay, or we have KVM. Okay, in hardware hypervisor also we have KVM. We have in software and we have hardware as well. KVM, Hyper-V for Windows, Hyper-V. All these are examples for type 1 hypervisor. The examples for type 2 hypervisor are Oracle VirtualBox, or we can call Oracle VirtualBox, or VMware Workstation. I call it as. This is an example for type 2 hypervisor. Okay. The tools, examples for type 1 and type 2. Until this, do you have any questions? So by using this AWS EC2, we are going to launch virtual machines as of now on top of your AWS data center. So this will be managed by whom? These things will be managed by whom? AWS. This is called as infrastructure as a service. This entire thing, hypervisor, physical machine, their power supply, network connectivity, hardware, everything will be managed by your AWS in the data center. Now our responsibility only is to create a EC2 instance. Let's see how to do that. If no questions, I'll go back to the practical session. Yeah.
Yeah, I have one question. Like we said the type 2 is like VirtualBox and other stuff. But if in hardware type 1, ESX and KVM and Hyper-V, this is also in laptops we can install, right?
You can
Okay.
install. I mean, that's what I've told. KVM hypervisor, you can do it as a hardware virtualization as software hypervisor as well. Both of them. It works in both the scenarios. It depends upon how you are downloading this one. KVM hypervisor. Maybe you can search for that. You get some official document as well. Linux KVM. Kernel virtual machines. You can do it for virtual machines as well. Okay. But you see, kernel based virtual machines. That's the meaning of KVM. Okay. Fully virtualization. Is it a hardware or software virtualization?
This is software.
Software.
Sorry.
Software.
Which means if I need to install KVM, I need to have operating system installed.
Yeah.
Just a second. QMO is that one. QMO. In KVM, we also have something called QMO. For that, we need to have it. but last time when I worked in my organization, we have directly installed this KVM on the physical machine. It's possible to do. Okay, we can use it for a software hypervisor and we can use it for hardware hypervisor as well. It supports both of them. It's possible to do. I will show you that if I find any video that is available from official document. That's for sure. Somewhere we need to have it.
Okay.
Okay, this is out of syllabus for now. But anyway.
I have, okay. So if
Sorry?
you go to the console, right, everywhere you see the events, right? So that events is something related to that, not here. I mean, in the Amazon console, right? If you go to the console, EC2, you
Yes,
have,
yes.
so in EC2, if you have like events, event log is there. Both are same, is there something different? EC2
Event
global,
log.
no, EC2 global view, right?
Okay. Yes.
Below that, the events, right? Left hand side. I'm referring to left hand side.
This one. Okay. See, this is like dedicated host, capacity reservation. These are different concepts in the virtual
No.
machine itself.
What I meant is the event. Can you go from the top? You see the dashboard, EC2 global view, and below that there is
Yes,
the event.
yes. Events. Okay. These are activities that you have done on EC2 till now. So let's say today I created one instance, I modified some instance, I deleted an instance, or I have created some image, I deleted some image. So you have done some event. Some event was happened on this particular dashboard, right? What are those that you can see it from?
Okay, if something corrupted, okay, from the events log, we can able to is it possible like why it got deleted and why it got corrupted? You
Yeah,
can
who
able to.
deleted, when it got deleted. We can see from this particular events. It's possible. Yes, I will show you that as well. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Now coming back to their point, this I will discuss. Okay. That KVM hypervisor and all, but that is also one of the example for hardware hypervisor. Okay. Now by using that EC2 dashboard, let us see how to launch an EC2 instance technically. So first I've told you, you have to prefer the region. So on which region you want to spin up this particular EC2 instance, you have to decide that first. Second important thing is operating system. But here it is called as image. It is called as AMI. In AWS, it is called as AMI. But the common terminology across all the clouds is nothing but image. But in AWS, it is called as AMI. Amazon Machine Image. Machine Image. Does anyone know what is mean by image in cloud? There is an ISO. Now I'm calling this one as image. It is a pre-installed operating system. It is a pre-installed operating system. That is the image. ISO, it's not a pre-installed operating system. We have to install it by using that ISO source code. Okay. You know what is the difference between source code and compiled code? Compiled code is an executed code. Okay. That's like a package. Whereas source code in this instance, it is not compiled. We have to compile it. Okay. That's a basic difference, right? So similar to that, ISO and image. In cloud, we call it as image. We will talk about this particular point in detail when we come across EBS, Elastic Block Storage and AMI concept. Then we will understand why I have called this one as pre-installed operating system. Okay, you take any cloud, the image is a pre-installed operating system. I'll just write a point here so that you can remember. Pre-installed operating system. Okay. Now, this is important. So first, I've told you region is important to select while spinning up the EC2 instance. That's the first thing. Second thing is nothing but image. Third one is nothing but, just a second, network. Today, as of today, we don't know nothing about network in AWS. So we will be using default network. I'll show you where it is, but we will be using a default network. I just want to tell you here that network, region, image is so important to launch your instance. What are the components that are important for us to launch an EC2 instance? I'm writing them. Forget about whether we have discussed the topic or not. Those are upcoming syllabus. For now, network is important to get an IP address to your system. For example, whenever you connect your mobile to your router, you are getting some IP address to your mobile. That IP address is used to contact your router, or other devices will contact your mobile by using this IP address. How we have a name, right? Or mobile number to contact us. Okay. Similar to that, systems will have an IP address for communication purpose. That IP address you will get from this network, whatever we have selected, in a simple terminology. So image is important, region is important, and then network is important. Okay, these 3 points are so important for us. And the final one is key, or we can say authentication for now. I would say authentication, but it is not IAM. Okay, I'm talking about operating system authentication. These 4 points are so important while launching your EC2 instance. So let me show you them one by one. The step-by-step process of launching EC2 instance. As I told you, first you have to select your EC2 service. On the EC2 dashboard, you will see a concept called instances. On the left side panel, you will see a section called instances. Under that, we are talking about a resource right now, instance. On the right hand side, you will see launch instance. Either you can select this, or if you go to the drop down list, here we have launch instances. Do not select this launch instances from template, migrate a server. These 2 topics we have not discussed. So ignore them. First, we have to select launch instances. It will load the page. We have to follow the steps one by one. Okay. It seems like you may be new to the launching instances. Oh, this is my new account. And this is the first time I'm launching instance in this Virginia region. You can see, take a walkthrough to learn EC2, how to launch instances and the best practices. You can see, take a walkthrough. So this will guide us. Get started, launch a test server, adjust your settings for production and launch a production ready server. These 2 options are there in the get started. Okay. I want to launch without any knowledge. Walkthrough. Select that. Again, you came back to this particular page. Now, in the launch an instance, we have first name and tag. The name will be added as a tag to your instance. Okay. So now I want to launch an EC2 instance with the name, let us say public instance. You can give a name as per your convenience. Don't imagine that you guys have to give the same name. Okay. It is up to you. Next one is AMI, as I told you, Amazon Machine Image. So here I want to launch my EC2 instance with which operating system, that you have to decide. I want to launch with Ubuntu. If you don't select any option here, by default, it will use Amazon Linux. What is this Amazon Linux? It is similar to CentOS operating system. It is similar to CentOS operating system, but it is developed by Amazon itself. That's the reason why it is Amazon Linux. Okay. But I want to use Ubuntu. Under this quick start, you can see these options. If you want more options apart from this operating systems, you can go to browse. Okay. So browse more AMIs. But here, according to this particular page, Ubuntu is sufficient for me. Now you have a question. Under Ubuntu, we have many versions, right? Which one I need to install? By default, always it will prefer the latest one. And that too, it will select Ubuntu server, not desktop. Okay. So we are trying to launch Ubuntu server 24.04 LTS. What is this HVM? Any meaning for that? Do you know before? Any guess?
Hypervisor machine.
Exactly. So hypervisor virtual machine. This particular virtual machine is getting created by a hypervisor, HVM. And what kind of disk it is using right now to run that operating system? SSD hard disk. The volume type is SSD hard disk. Okay. Now what we are trying to do is, I'll go a little bit down. We are trying to launch an EC2 instance. Now to run operating system on this EC2 instance, it is trying to create some particular disk. It is a virtual disk, but in a terminology, we have to call it as virtual disk it is. Now on this particular disk, what type of disk it is to run this operating system? It is SSD volume type. We call this one as volume. Okay. Now this particular volume type is SSD volume. Now in this particular volume, it will run the operating system. Which operating system? The one what you have selected from AMI. What operating system it will run on this particular volume? It all depends upon the AMI what you have selected. Okay, which AMI we have selected? Ubuntu. You can see virtualization type is HVM. Okay. Root device type is EBS, Elastic Block Storage, EBS full form. You can. And remember, this is a free tier. No charges will be applied while you are using this AMI. Okay.
So
Free tier eligible. Yes, please.
is it going to install on the raw disk, correct? SSD then one
Ah.
because
Yeah, for you, actually, I thought of answering this question, means talk about this particular point in the next session. But since you guys have asked it, right? See, where it will get installed operating system, it will create a disk. Automatically, it will create a disk based on the AMI what you have selected. And then inside this disk, it will have an operating system installed. Okay, you don't need to worry about that. That's the reason why I told you AMI is a pre-installed operating system. Okay, so technically, from the AMI, it is trying to create a disk. Technically.
okay.
From the AMI, it is trying to create a disk. Now I have to explain how the AMI will get created. For that, you need to know how to create a custom AMI. All these are interlinked. For now, just I'm saying that this disk will get created with the operating system installed. Who will decide that based on the AMI what you have selected? Remember only this particular point for now. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, scroll down. If you want to change the architecture, let us say I don't want to use AMD. I want to use ARM processor. Select that. Okay, for now, by default, it is 64-bit AMD processor. Username is Ubuntu. What does it mean? After your EC2 instance has been launched, if you want to log into this particular instance, the username by default, it is Ubuntu. By default, he is a sudo user. By now, everybody knows what is a sudo user. And when this particular AMI got published into this AWS on this particular date, okay, so it is previous month, 3rd. That is the latest one. And next, instance type. This is also so important, which I have not told here. Instance type. Instance type is nothing but how much resource you want to allocate to your virtual machine. Nothing but CPU and memory. CPU and memory. You can see these are called as family, T2 family. Under T2 family, we have T2 micro, T2 large. If you select the drop-down list here, you will see different types of instances. So based on the option you select, you will get the number of CPUs and memory and other options as well. And the pricing will be different with the option what you have selected. If you want a free trial eligible, no pricing, no billing should be applied. Then you have to go for free tier eligible. According to our free tier account, the eligible is T2 micro. How much resource will be allocated to your virtual machine? It will allocate 1 core CPU, 1 GB RAM. That is sufficient for our practice purpose. Okay, to understand this concept, we are not too much worried about the CPU and memory. Okay, but if you want to choose any other instance type, select the drop-down list. Okay, you can choose any one of them. You can see the tag is available only for this T2 micro. For all other options, the tag is not available. What does it mean? Charges will be applied. Okay, this is what I have told. Free tier in the sense it is not everything is free. Only few options are free. You have to choose according to our requirement. Okay. Additional cost applies for AMIs with pre-installed software. Okay. That's all. Means if this particular the AMI what you have selected, it might have some additional software. Charges also will be applied to it. This is a new point which I'm seeing. Earlier we don't have this. I don't know why this additional cost applies for AMIs with pre-installed software. Okay, that's out of syllabus for now. Next one is key pair. As I told you, if you need to authenticate, authentication part it is. If you want to log into this particular EC2, there are two things here. If you want to log into any Linux operating system, till now, what is the method that we have used? We call it as SSH authentication. In that SSH authentication, we have two methods. Does anyone know?
What exactly the question? This is the authentication you saying?
Authentication methods.
One is the key level,
Basic
right?
authentication both.
No. No. See, I'll tell you in a simple terminology. You have launched a virtual machine here, right? And you are able to log into this particular virtual machine. Okay, or let us say we used mobile system. In the mobile system, I used to enter the username. I used to use IP address, username, password. That is one authentication, right? What is it called? Username, password based authentication.
Simple.
That is SSH only. Under that, we are using username, password based authentication. So you have to type username and password, both of them. That is called as one authentication mechanism. There is another mechanism as well, which is called as key-based authentication. Key-based authentication. By default, EC2 instance will prefer key-based authentication, not username password-based authentication. As per the AMI concept, they don't allow us to use username password. If it is Windows AMI, definitely we can use username password. There we will not have key-based authentication. Since we are trying to use a Linux operating system or Mac operating system, we can use either username password based authentication or key based authentication. But by default with the AMIs what we are using, it will allow only key based authentication, not password based authentication. Did you got the point what I'm trying to say or any confusion part? What is this key based authentication? I'll explain you tomorrow. Means in the next session, step by step process. I told you right, some topics are left in Linux operating system. One of them is nothing but key based authentication. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Username password we have already discussed. It's not a major thing. Type username password. That's it. You will log into the operating system. Okay. Let us see that. So if I go back here, I have to select a key. But in this particular account, I don't have, I already have a key. If you don't have a key, right, it will look like this. Let me show you. First, I will delete it. Forget about what I'm doing. Okay, keys are not available here. It's under VPC. But earlier we used to have under security, right? Okay, just a second. EC2 itself, it should be under network and security. Yeah, keys.
Yes.
Let me delete this. Confirmation delete. What I mean to say is your account will not have any key pair. It will look like this. Let me refresh. You will have nothing. Without selecting the key pair also, I can launch my instance. First and foremost point. Without having key pair also, I can launch my instance. You can see proceed without a key pair, but it's not recommended. Default value. What does it mean if you don't select anything here and if you proceed and if you try to launch instance, by default it will select not this one without key pair. Now when you have not selected anything, how will you log into this instance from remote location? From my system, I want to log into this EC2 instance, which will not be possible. Okay. Now, Because we are using a AMI, someone has created this one. This is not created by you, this AMI. Now, if I want to use a key pair, we have to create. Now, where this particular key pair will get created under Virginia region. Okay. I can use this particular key pair for another instances. Yes, we can. You can use this particular key pair for multiple instances. It is not only for this instance. So create, it will open the dashboard, means it will open the pop-up. Here we have to give some name. For example, V2, or I'll just say demo key for now. Key pair type is RSA. These are two different algorithms. It will use a different algorithm for encryption of your key. What is a key pair? It is going to generate some keys. Those keys are called as, for now, just remember these theoretical points. It will generate a private key and public key. And a key pair, we have two concepts, private key and public key. Now this particular key pairs are getting generated by using RSA algorithm. Okay, that's how it is. Now the format of that particular key pair is PEM. Don't try to use PPK. Earlier, olden days, means few years back, we used to prefer on PPK because we used to use PuTTY application from Windows system, or most of the cases we used to use PuTTY application. Now we have many other options to log into your Linux operating system. That's the reason why we have to prefer PEM, not PPK. Okay, so these are the two things that you have to remember. One is key pair type and one is PK format. And then create. Once you say create, what will happen in the backend is private key will get stored in the, private key will get downloaded in your system. Public key will get stored in the EC2 dashboard. Okay, let me create. Once I say create, it is asking you to download. Okay, now the one which you're downloading will get stored in your system. I want to store it in downloads for now and save it. You can see PEM format. Now you might ask a question, is it a private key or public key? It's a private key. It's a private key. If I open that, you can see it.
So PEM will have public and private, both will be there, right?
Both. You can see RSA private key. It is some encrypted code. You can't understand what is it. Okay. Now, where is the public key? It got stored in your dashboard. I'll show you. Here is a public key. Okay. Now, when you're trying to select that, what does it mean? When it is launching instance, this public key will get stored inside that instance under Ubuntu user. How it will do that? Backend AWS will take care of it. You don't need to worry. Tomorrow, I will explain how to do that so that you will understand the concept in a much better way. For now, just understand that AWS, what it will do when you're trying to select these options, it is going to store this particular public key under this particular user in the EC2 instance. Okay. That's a simple thing to remember, not to get confused. Network, I told you, right? Default. We are not going to change anything here. And we are not going to change this one as well. Leave it as it is. Tomorrow I will explain in a different way to understand this concept. Okay. For now, we are trying to leave these options as it is under network settings. The next one is configure storage. I told you, right? It is going to launch one particular disk volume technically. Now this particular volume size, it depends upon the AMI what you have selected. According to the AMI what I've selected, the volume size is 8 GB. It is 8 GB. If you want to increase more than that, you can. But under free tier eligible, we can use only up to 30 GB, not more than that. Okay. And you can use only general purpose SSD hard disk, and we can use only magnetic storage, the volume type. We cannot use any other option, either general purpose or magnetic. We can't use cold, we can't use provisioned, we can't use throughput optimized. These are not preferable. Okay, according to the free tier eligible customers. Okay, now one more thing here you need to understand is the minimum size is 8 according to this AMI. You might ask a question, can you reduce the size? No, you can't. You can see it is not preferable. If you try to launch, it will fail. Okay. Either we have to go for minimum, whatever it is displayed, or we can increase. We have to do only these two things, either leave it or increase. Okay. There are some more options as well in advanced. I'm not doing that right now since we don't know topic about this. Leave that option. If you want to attach another disk while launching this instance, we can use this option. Okay. What does it mean? If I go back, if you want to attach another disk, or we can say another volume to store some data, something like that. Like how my system is having C drive, D drive, right? For example, I'm saying, imagine this one is one disk. This is another disk, but technically that is not. Here I want to store my operating system. Here I want to store my application data. What is the advantage of this? If your operating system disk has been crashed, something went wrong, that will not affect your application data. You can restore this application data without any harm. The operating system can be reinstalled. That's fine. That is the advantage of segregating your data. So here, if you want to do that, you can do that. I want to say that we can achieve it. Okay, this is another volume if you want. Both comes under same topic, which is called as EBS, Elastic Block Storage. We'll talk about that in detail later. One is for operating system, one is for application data, or just you can say for data. Okay. Let me come back here. I'm not using any other option from advanced details. Leave that option as it is. Okay. These parameters, what you have selected, are sufficient for us to launch an EC2 instance. Okay. Now, once you have selected all these options, no doubts in this? I think I've covered almost everything, whatever is necessary for you to understand. Still, if you have any questions, do not hesitate. Let me know.
Okay, I have one question. Okay,
Yep.
if I'm not wrong. Okay, um, see the key pair you just showed, right? The key pair.
Yep.
If I select
This one.
default, yeah, I remember. I think long ago. Okay, I'm talking about. Okay, so during the time we had an option. Okay, like if we don't select the key pair, by default the instance will be created. Login with user ID, but password will not be there. Okay, you can
True.
once you choose
Earlier, what used to happen, if you don't select this one, right, it will create a key pair for you by launching instance, and that key pair you will store it, and the public key will get stored in the instance. Now that feature is not there. Either you can disable it or you can create a key pair.
no without a key pair itself. I'm talking about. Okay, without a key pair, I'm saying default. So default, what happened is, I mean, at the time, like we can go. I mean, instance will be created, and we log in with only with we'll just log in as a the user ID will be like Ubuntu, and we do from there we can have a sudo access. Just a sudo, then in the password, everything. This we'll set the password inside that.
See, it all depends upon the AMI. Maybe you are using a custom AMI, not a public AMI. This is a public AMI. According to this AMI, they are allowing us only key pair authentication, not password-based authentication.
Okay, yeah. I mean, now I can see the custom is not there. Earlier we had a custom AMI. All the
No, we
AMI
can still we can have it, but for now I have not shown that. We
Okay,
can still we can go to recent and we can select that.
okay.
Okay. Yeah. According to the organizations, we don't use public. Most of the cases, we create our own custom AMIs and we launch our instances according to the requirement of that application. What do you want to run?
So, are we going to use the marketplace also here? Like, I mean, for example, if you to get the software and just to do
This is
something.
almost marketplace AMI. This is technically AWS, but if you want to use marketplace or community-based AMIs also, we can browse and we can use them. For example, I want to use marketplace. Marketplace in the sense, for example, I want a EC2 instance with some tools installed.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you can go to marketplace and download it. You can see, we can select that. No, I want to use community-based. You can use that. What is this verified provider? The one who has uploaded this, it is verified by AWS. So this is a preferred one.
Got it.
And this is my AMIs. I don't have any AMIs right now because I have not created. Hope you are able to see.
Okay. It's just
Let
like
us say someone has created an AMI in one of the AWS account. He has shared that particular AMI to my account. Then I can have to use shared with me. As of now, nothing is shared to my account. Owned by me, shared with me. Sorry, you're asking something?
Yeah, actually, I mean, what I'm asking is, I mean, do we have in the syllabus, like, are we adding anything here in the from the tools using from the marketplace? For example, like, okay, if I like right now you install the Ubuntu, okay, for example, I want to use any app server, okay, like
For
application,
example,
RabbitMQ or something like that, okay, for
no,
example.
RabbitMQ WordPress, for example.
Mhm.
You can say WordPress on Ubuntu 20 version. If you want, you can use that. It is a marketplace. What is the advantage of this? Whenever you try to launch instance by using this, you have a WordPress application installed on it. Maybe Amazon Linux or Debian. We can do that. But I used to show from scratch. I don't prefer this marketplace.
Okay.
If you want, I can just see. You can just practice actually. My guidance also is not necessary in this particular scenario. That's what I mean to say. It's straightforward.
Okay.
If you want some particular tool to be available, okay, first you have to search in the marketplace. If that is available with the preferred operating system for you, then you can do that. Select and install. That's it.
Once I create the OS, then I can install the marketplace.
Yeah, that is post installation. We call it as custom configuration, right? We call it as.
Yeah.
That is a post installation activity. This is a pre-installed.
Okay, got it. Question is, so right.
Fine. Now let me launch. You can say it is getting launched. Now you people might ask, I thought people will be asking it, but anyway, I selected a region, but I have not selected any data center, right? Means availability zone. So where it will get launched. See, region is not a data center. Region is just a logical layer of your data centers. Somewhere in the data center, it will get launched, right? In which it is.
It will be based on
Near to that region.
Yeah. AWS will take care of the decision. Whichever availability zone is preferred, according to that, it will launch. But it all depends upon the network, what you have chosen. In the network also I have chosen nothing. So it will choose according to that particular launch time. At that particular time, whichever availability zones is preferred, it will try to launch on that particular specific availability zone. But if you want to control that, you have to choose a proper option in the network settings. Okay. Just a point. Now you can go to that instance, or you can go to the dashboard and select instances and you refresh it. You can see the instance is running within seconds. Your instance has been created and it got in running status as well. Now, if I want to access this instance, which one I have to use? I see two IP addresses here.
public, right?
Public. Why public? Any answer for your question? Any justification for your question?
So because the this private address is like you can't able to connect, right? I mean, this is like internal, like in the data center. I mean, like anything.
Yeah.
That's only.
So the private IP address will be used when you are within the network. But I'm outside of the network, right? I'm somewhere in the geographical location, right? This instance got launched in Virginia region. So if I need to communicate to that instance, obviously it should be a public IP address. Okay, so which one we have to prefer right now? Public. Okay. Within that particular data center, that instance got an IP address by using that private network. It should be. Directly a public IP address will not be assigned to the instance. Public IP address is used to communicate your instance from outside of the network. It is like a barrier between you, outside network, and inside network. Okay. So let us copy this IP. I want to show you how to communicate to this instance. SSH, as we all know. If you want to use key pair authentication, we have to pass -i and you have to give the location where you have downloaded your PEM file. the private key PEM file, right? In my case, it is in downloads. Under that, we have, I think, demo key .pem. And then what is the username?
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. If you have forgotten that, you can go to connect, select the instance and go to connect. Here you will see the username. Okay. Then Ubuntu at IP address. So which IP address I have to copy? Public. Enter. We have to give yes or no. So yes. To store the fingerprint. Nothing. I'll not give any password. This is called as key-based authentication. Passwordless authentication. Technically. Okay. So I have logged into my EC2 instance of Ubuntu operating system. By default, you're in the Ubuntu user. If I want to switch to root user, sudo space -i. I can run the commands, whatever I've learned till now. Yes, please.
You not enable the SSH 22 or 22 anything, right? In the
Nothing.
network. Yeah.
Why that was happened? Because I've not shown you that, because I left that option as it is. When I'm trying to launch instance, if you have observed carefully, if you look at the network sessions, by default, 22 port number is allowed. You can see. That's the reason why I was able to log in from anywhere. This is a default option.
Okay.
That's the reason why I have able to log into this instance. Okay, I'll talk about this one in detail tomorrow. If you have unfortunately deselected this, you will not be able to log in. Got the
Okay.
point?
Yeah, I got it. Now, if I want to connect through PuTTY, I can't use the PEM. I can't use the PEM then.
Which one?
For example, if I from my laptop, I'm trying to connect to that public.
You cannot log in because I have to share the public key to you. Sorry, private key to you. If I don't share a private key to you, even though you know the IP address, username and all, you cannot authenticate. But if I share a private key to you, you can authenticate.
No.
It's possible.
How you PuTTY? How you use PEM in PuTTY? That's what my question is.
PEM is nothing but a key pair, right? So
Yeah.
inside this instance, we have a public key. In your system, you have a private key from where you are trying to authenticate. So this is called as key pair authentication. They knows how to authenticate. They will exchange the data. First, they will verify. If verification is successful, then they will communicate with each other by using that key pair. So
No,
public key got stored in the instance. Private key is with you from where you are trying to access.
Okay. Do you have mobile XTEM, right?
Yes, I have it.
Okay. Can you take the public IP address? Okay.
Okay, I will do that. You want to authenticate from here?
Yeah.
Maybe
Because-
his question is like for PuTTY we use PPK, but we are using PEM here. Maybe that's
Yes.
I also got
Don't
the
use
same question.
don't use PEM in the PuTTY. Let's say you have a mobile XTEM. Either I
Okay.
can use a CLI, which I've shown you just now. If you
Okay.
have mobile XTEM, which you want to store this details in the mobile XTEM itself, try to give first IP address, username, port number 22. Then what you have to do is advanced SSH settings. Try to select use key pair, private key. Now, wherever you have stored your private key, browse that particular file. For example, select in downloads, select the key which you want to use, and then okay, accept. You have logged in.
Nice. It's
Got it?
for me, right? Like it didn't work for me. That's why I was asking because I'm using the PuTTY.
Okay. See, PuTTY, you have to use PPK file. What file we are using as a key pair? PEM file.
PEM here.
It is not PPK. If you really
may-
want to use this PEM as a PPK, we can convert by using online tools.
Okay.
PPK. So we have PuTTYgen. By using that application, we can do that. Let me show you practical. If you want, other people can ignore. PuTTYgen I have not installed, I guess. Okay, let me install. Where is that link? (64-bit) PuTTY installer MSI. This is ARM processor. I don't want this. Download. Click here to download manually. Okay. It's getting saved. I will try to install this application. Okay. Other people can ignore, and if you want, you can drop as well. From tomorrow onwards, guys, the session will be from 7 to 8. Okay.
Sure.
It got installed. Let me try to use Putty. Here you can see Putty Gen.
Yes.
Open that. Here, upload the key which you want to convert. For example, downloads. All. It is looking for PPK file. You can see that.
Yeah.
All files. Select the PEM. Here you can see it got converted in the backend. Now you can say save public key or save private key. That's it. Here we have to use save private key. Now when you save, are you sure that you want to save? Yes. Without any passphrase? Yes. You can see PPK file. Now let me give some name. Demo file in downloads. I saved it. Okay. Now let me try to use Putty. Now you have to open Putty application, not Putty Zen.
Yeah.
Now username is host name. Username we can specify here. For example, SSH authentication. Authentication. Somewhere here I have to select a key.
I think
it's not showing.
Actually, host.
Select authentication. Somewhere here it should be there. Upload.
1 second. Just
In authentication. In authentication.
Authentication. Yeah. Okay. Credentials. Sorry. Thank you. Missed it. So downloads. You can see it shows only PPK files.
Yeah.
Then I'll go back to session. Save. Open. Sorry. Accept. First I have to give username. That's it. You can say I've logged in. But first you have to convert that into PPK.
Okay.
Then we can do it.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So 4 people have logged in. You can see that. Means 4 sessions from the same location. This is my IP address. We'll come to know from which person has logged in when, from which location. That IP address will get tracked in the operating system. By using W command, we can see that info, which I've told you.
Yeah.
So, is that answered your question?
Yeah. Got it. Thanks.
Okay. Any more questions? Finally, we will see how to delete this instance. I prefer not to keep this instance as it is because we are using free trial account. Once you're done with your task, select that instance state, and here we can see terminate. Nothing but I want to delete the instance. Once your instance got deleted, we cannot recover it. As of now, AWS is not providing any recycle bin for us for this particular EC2. So before you delete your instance, be careful. But anyway, this is our free trial account, right? We can delete. But in real-time projects, they don't give us delete access. The permissions will not be given, for sure. So if I refresh, first it will shut down. After that, it will terminate. Finally, we have to see the status as terminated. Nothing but deleted. I'll give this particular picture, okay? What are the points I've discussed so that you can go through.
Sudhams, just one question,
Yep.
Sudhams.
Yep.
While creating this memory, either it is a general purpose or it is a magnetic or something you told, right?
Now I have chosen by default SSD.
Okay. No, normally in general scenario, what will be,
Mhm.
because this is a free tier account, so we are choosing that one, right?
Uh, see,
And
according to free tier, either I can choose SSD or I can go for magnetic. Both are
okay,
options are available. Now,
okay,
maximum you can use only up to 30 GB. Whether you try to prefer to use magnetic or SSD, we can use up to maximum 30 GB under free tier. Now the
okay.
question comes is, I launched
In
one
realistic,
instance with 30 GB. Can I
Mhm.
launch another instance with 30 GB again? Will that be a free tier or paid one?
uh, uh,
It's free, right?
that is a paid one only.
Paid one. Why?
Because
Because you have already utilized 30 GB. Additionally, you have asked for 30 GB. That will become a paid one.
correct. My question is, in real time scenario, if you're a AWS engineer or you're a DevOps engineer, if we are supposed to create any instance or something, based on the
Uh-huh.
requirement we create, and what will
Obviously.
be
See, first I will try to check the preferences. Means, okay, do I need to use, first I need to choose operating system. I have to decide first. It is not a one-man decision,
okay?
right? First I have to talk to my developers as well. On what operating system basis this particular application or a software got developed. So first we have to decide that. After that, how much resource we need to allocate. It all depends upon the application capacity. If it runs
Mhm.
ideally, what is the resource utilization? First we'll check that. Now automatically we will generate a load by using some tools. And then we will see how your application is consuming the resources at that particular peak time. And then we will decide on what resources we have to go ahead with our production deployment. This is what we do in our testing and development phase.
No.
Okay, it purely depends upon the type of application and the usage. Based on these two factors, we will decide which instance size we have to use.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.